بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين. اللهم ربنا أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم أرنا حقائق الأشياء كما هي ربنا زدنا علما وعملا وإخلاصا يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصر أولياءك في مشارق الأرض ومغاربها وانصرهم على عدوك وعدوهم إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم فرج عنا ولإخواننا في مشارق الأرض ومغاربها. اللهم نفس كربنا وكربهم وثبت أقدامنا وأقدامهم والطف بنا وبهم يا أرحم الراحمين. وصل وسلم على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وآله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذريته وإخوانه وأشياعه وأعوانه أجمعين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين آمين يا رب العالمين. We are continuing our close reading of Islamic Paul's Reconstruction of Religious Thought in Islam. After a short pause, which was due to various factors, but we were here somewhere. It doesn't matter, we will always go back and forth. But I think we had covered Zeno's, his sort of digression on Zeno. And I had, I think, talked a bit about why he is talking about Zeno and all that, and why motion is important for him, and what role it is playing here. So you would have to go back and listen to that, because I don't remember everything I said. But we will come back to these issues. So even if you can't go back, you can still, follow our general train of thought, I guess. Okay, so let's start. Bismillah. Okay, so Zeno held that, that's his conclusion. Zeno held that movement is only a deceptive appearance. Deceptive and appearance, these are two important, and that reality is one. Well, that's he's a follower of Parmenides. So that's one of the key Parmenidean tenet, and it is immutable. And as I said before, now obviously what I'm saying here is just to give you a general idea, is oversimplification of the issues, but it will help us to, just situate things in their context. So in early Greek thinking of philosophy, you had two parallel claims or opposite claims, in a sense, or seemingly contradictory claims. So there is Parmenides, who says that reality is one, and reality is what the word he uses here, immutable. Yeah, reality, the Zeno held that moon is only a deceptive appearance, and that reality is one and immutable. Now, immutable can mean many things, but like it doesn't change. So not every change is mutation as such. But people have taken it to mean that there's no motion, there's no real movement. And then there is a Heraclitean perception or axioms or intuition that I don't know whether this was a Heraclitus view, but there's a parallel view or opposite view that reality is many. Like there are many things. So there are, and then Heraclitean think that everything is in flux, in motion, and different Greek philosophers, especially Plato, tried to reconcile these two things. And Plato was, as I said, in a sense, disciple of Parmenides. Parmenides, a follower of Parmenides, but he took the opposite view seriously. So he tried, in his thing, he tried to reconcile this. So in Plato's philosophy, you can see the argument for that reality is one, but many as well. There is a reality is immutable, but there's also a flux. Okay. So there's two. If you look at even in Republic, the allegory of cave, or his two-tiered metaphysics, where you have forms and the world of forms, and then there is a world of appearance, and this two-tiered explanation, in a sense, try to combine these two views, Parmenides views and Heraclitean views. Okay, so this is Allama Iqbal's context is talking in. Okay, so the Zeno held that movement is only a deceptive appearance, and that reality is one and immutable. Another term Allama Iqbal uses here is appearance. We will come to deceptive, because appearance doesn't need to be deceptive. If you know that it is appearance, and there is a reality which is more than appearance, and appearance is a manifestation of that reality, then appearance would be deceptive only if you treat appearance to be the whole reality. Okay, so appearance, I don't know whether Zeno actually said that appearance is deceptive, but at least Plato's view is that there is appearance and there is reality, and appearance is not necessarily deceptive. Or at least that's one possible reading of Plato. So Allama Iqbal's claim that Zeno claimed that a movement was deceptive appearance need to be, further investigated, I guess. By the way, there was a footnote which I missed, which might be useful. This is the editor's footnote, but editor's footnotes are important in the sense that I assume that because I haven't actually read editor's introduction, but I assume that the sources he refers to, some of them at least might be the sources which Allama Iqbal had actually referred to or read, because in Iqbaliyat, so-called, they're the field of study where they have access to Allama Iqbal's library, and they can tell which books he was reading and which books he read. If you go to Iqbal Academy's websites, you can find all that. Okay. So let me read this footnote 10 on Zeno, and then we'll come back to what I was talking about. Okay, so this is the footnote. Allama Iqbal here. Allama Iqbal here states the one which we looked at already. Here, Zeno's first and third argument for all four arguments of Zeno's on the unreality of motion. See John Burnett, Greek Philosophy, Thales to Plato, page 84. They generally go by names. That is Zeno's argument or paradoxes. The dichotomy, the Achilles, the arrow, and the stadium. It may well be added that our primary source of Zeno's famous and controversial argument. I don't know what he means by controversial here. All philosophical arguments are in a way controversial. Argument is Aristotle's metaphysics. This is important. Aristotle's metaphysics is very important, and not just for understanding his metaphysics and understanding a lot of the background of Islamic ilm kalam, Mu'tazila, Asharis, and the later debates between Mu'tazilas and Asharis, and the debates between Ashara and Hanbalis, specific, which is generally said to have been translated into Arabic by Ishaq bin Hunayn, the son of the celebrated Hunayn bin Ishaq. Aristotle's physics is also said to have been commented on later by Christian Abu Ali al-Hasan bin al-Sam'ah, and referring to Stern's article Ibn Sama, Journal of the Royal Asiatic Society, 1956, 31 to 44. Even so, it seemed that Zeno's arguments, as stated by Aristotle, were known to the Muslim thinkers much earlier, maybe through Christian Syriac sources. Because obviously, a lot of the areas which were conquered by Muslims and which were earlier under Romans were populated by Christians. A lot of those Christians became Muslim, but many of them didn't convert to Islam, so they remained. And they had access to Greek and Latin sources. So, and that was, and obviously Syriac is a language close to Arabic, and also those sources were translated into Arabic. So that's what he's saying. Zeno's argument, as stated by Aristotle, were known to the Muslim thinkers, by which he means Muslim scholars and non-scholars like philosophers, much earlier. Maybe through Christian Syriac sources. For one finds the brilliant Mu'tazilite Nazam, Mu'tazili scholar, meeting Zeno's first argument in terms of his ingenious idea of tarfa or jump, referred to by Allama Iqbal in lecture 3. Okay, so that was the footnotes. Now let's go back to the text. Okay, so where were we? Thus Zeno held that the movement is only a deceptive appearance and that reality is one and immutable. The unreality of movement means the unreality of an independent space. Okay, we did talk about it this a bit in the last session, but we'll talk a bit more about it shortly. But let's focus on appearance and this distinction between appearance and reality, which is very important in philosophy. But it's important to understand, contra Allama Iqbal here, appearance doesn't, I mean, it can appearances can be deceptive. For example, that's the source of illusion, for example, or mirages. But not every appearance is deceptive. If you, because everything in a way is in a sense appearance. Appearance just means that which appears to us. That's the whole point of phenomenology, or certain types of phenomenology anyway. So appearance doesn't mean deception by any stretch of mind, by definition. Okay, so let's think a bit about this distinction between appearance and reality, and then I also want to talk about what is the and another contrast Allama Iqbal is making here between reality and unreality, and probably we'll stop at that, inshallah, for today. So the distinction between, or the meaning of appearance, there are more than one meaning, obviously, and I didn't mean meaning, but usage of appearance. Um, and one usage is that, what appears can be deceptive, especially if you treat it to be the reality or the only reality, or as the truth, or if you treat appearances without their due context, then they can be deceptive. But what I want to say is the appearance, this is just one usage of appearance, and this usage is also, it's present in epistemology and metaphysics and all that, in philosophy as a whole as well, and in psychology. But there are other usage. It doesn't have that connotation. In that usage, appearance is contrasted with reality. And in a way, appearance as well as reality is part of reality. And appearance can, in that context, just mean how the reality present itself to us. And in that sense, appearance is part of reality. It is not deceptive, unless you treat it as if your perception of reality exhausts all the dimensions of reality. Then it can become deceptive. But what I'm saying is that that's not the only usage. And more appropriate usage in this context, the context where the appearance of reality is, that appearance is as reality appears to me or to you or to us as a group, or to us as a human being. So the context is always varying, and it can contract as well as it can widen. So that's the basic point I wanted to make, really. So, for example, when Kant makes the distinction between appearance and reality, he's one of the important philosophers who have made that distinction. Another I have already mentioned, which is Plato. So there's the world in which we live, normally the world of senses and human reason and body and soul combined. And there's a world which we perceive only through our soul or our reason, and that is the world of form or the world of ideas. And in our existence, these two worlds mingle, the world of soul and the world of body. And um, our world is world of appearance, not in the sense of deception, but it is a reflection of reality as it is from our perspective, or the way it presents itself to us, for example. And there's a similar view, and Kant obviously was hugely, um, hugely, hugely influenced by Plato. I mean, his debt to Aristotle is obvious, but his debt to Plato is not always obvious. And I think, although Kant comes from a Aristotelian tradition in a way through rationalism of German philosophers of enlightenment, um, German rationalism in which Kant grew up philosophically, but his real sympathies lie with Plato. And that's where we can say thing in itself, the distinction between thing in itself and phenomena, or what's the word he used, is basically, in a way, reformulation of the Platonic distinction between the world of form, so the world of reason, and the world of soul, and the world of senses, and the world of body, etc. Yeah, okay. So Kant is one of the philosophers who makes the distinction, and Plato is obviously the one of the first. And obviously, there are other philosophers. Okay. Okay, so let's go back to the text. So Allama Iqbal is saying here, that Zeno held that the movement is only a deceptive appearance. So I'm not sure. I mean, it might be possible that you can interpret Zeno in this way, but that's not the only way to interpret Zeno, or at least not the whole Parmenidean tradition. What we can say that Zeno thought the movement was only appearance, and the reality as it is, although, so that movement in a sense comes through, I'm not saying this is Zeno's view, but in a sense this movement comes through our interaction with the permanent reality, or the reality as it is. So I just wanted to point out that Allama Iqbal's addition of deceptive here is in a way misleading, if not deceptive. So that's Zeno held that the movement is only a deceptive appearance, and that reality is one and immutable. But as reality can be one, but it can manifest itself. So you can be a monist, but you can be a dynamic monist like Hegel, for example, or even like Plato, for example, or we can't say Kant is a monist, but or Plato is a monist in that sense. But they are, for Kant, I guess at least there is a reality which is reason or body, or reason, and the other thing is body, or matter or mind. So in that sense, Kant is a dualist, and you can say Plato is a dualist as well. But from another angle, if we talk about reality as one, in the sense that as contrast to appearance, then You can think of them as monists of thought, but they are the monists of thought for whom reality is one, but it can manifest it in plurality, and reality as it is might not be might be immutable, but it has its mutation when it comes to how it manifests itself. So, and more powerful example of this idea is Hegel, which is Allama Iqbal's main source or main philosophical source, at least in Reconstruction of Religious Thought Islam, at least in first couple of chapters. So that's the thing which I wanted to stress in this reading. I mean, not that I came with that idea, but it's became apparent. A lot of puns without intending them most of the time. So so I didn't come up with that. I'm coming into this reading with that intention, but it just became apparent to me while I was reading this here that this is an important thing which needs to be kept in mind at least. And similarly, we'll stop here today, but we'll take this, what we did today, and then we'll move on to another distinction he is making, the unreality of movement. And just to give you a heads up, there I intend to, and this time I'm intending it before our reading, but I might forget. There's important distinction. So it's also important here to sort of remember that the opposite of reality is not necessarily unreality. Philosophically more interesting opposite of reality, for example, in Kantian context, for example, is ideality, real and ideal. So that doesn't mean ideal is unreal. So reality, the opposite of reality is unreality, or opposite of real is unreal, but opposite of real is also ideal. So that sort of correspond to what we did today as to the distinction between appearance and reality, and real non-deceptive appearance and deceptive appearance. Okay, so we'll stop here and we'll start from here again, inshallah, later today or tomorrow or whenever Allah wills. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم لك الحمد كما أنت أهله، فصل وسلم على سيدنا محمد كما أنت أهله، وافعل بنا كما أنت أهله، فإنك أهل التقوى وأهل المغفرة. اللهم ربي أوزعنا أن نشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علينا وعلى والدينا، وأن نعمل صالحا ترضاه، وأصلح لنا في ذرياتنا إنا تبنا إليك وإنا من المسلمين. ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان، ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم. صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين.